First, I'd like to recognize, again, Richard E.Wilkin, Dick Wilkin. It's really an honor to be the chair under his name. Gary Johnson for nominating me for this. My advisory committee. My advisory committee included Mary Beth Dillon and Tom Dillon from occupational therapy. Stop playing, start dying. Therapy goes much better as play. Jeanette Drake. She's a spontaneous burst of energy. She knows her stuff. Curt feedback, and she realizes the power of play. Sue English, public information. She's just a get-her-done type of person, and really an underrated force on this campus. Really helping me out to get the word out and play. Margaret Twiggins, the Margaret Twiggins from The Courier, who's also with us tonight, the family section, and regularly giving us good news in The Courier. Emphasizing positive last year, playful this year. Ben Sapp, director, Mazda Museum, International Art for Picture Books, world's largest museum for literacy and art children's picture books. What's not to like about play? For Ben, I'm in. It was easy to get him on my committee. And I'll be working at the Mazda Fun Day Sundays all through this academic year. Ann Reiser Lee, photography is powerful and important. We know as professors, she's always coming around our classrooms, taking pictures of us. She's in the trenches with us. I love that. She sees many angles to play. Surely there'll be energy with playful. She knows what the playful class is like. Dawn Collins does to me what I do to my students. Define your terms. Tell me, Matt, what do you mean by play? We went right to the heart of things and distilled the product results. So I thank Dawn, the campus sage. The advisory committee and I met 5 times this summer. So meeting 1 was basically my therapy session. Spill my guts. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And I found out professional, personal, and spiritual reasons for doing this talk and this year on play. Professionally, this started in my sports ethics course I taught in 2010, and I came to an epiphany that all these ethical issues we're dealing with go back to one basic thing: winning is everything. What happened to the play spirit? It seems like it's gone from sports. I played organized football and baseball growing up, age 8 to age 19. All growing up, it was just telling me, go out and play. Go out and play. Call me in when it's dark. Southwestern Pennsylvania, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. That probably tells you a lot. Pittsburgh Steelers. And football is how you're taught in that area of the country. Personal, I know and acknowledge power play as I've experienced it with coaches, teachers, teammates, and other people in general. Personal, I came across this quote. We sometimes think the opposite of play is work, but Stuart Brown, 2010, the opposite of play is depression. Symptoms of depression: emptiness, lack of interest, motivation, dull, gray, like E.Wilkin. I'm clinically depressed. That's why I'm doing play. Psychiatrists, psychologists love this one. Perhaps my depression could be alleviated by play and playfulness, and I could do the same for other people. Spiritually, letting go, acting in the spirit, allowing myself to be used for higher purposes, is a lot like play. In my philosophy training, I found weaknesses in every position we studied, came to realize there isn't a foolproof position, realized our wisdom is foolishness to God. Let's not take ourselves too seriously and be a bit more playful about this human existence thing. So I tried professional, personal, spiritual reasons for doing this topic. So the first meeting, we talked about work and play, we talked about trestle and how to stay situation, organization of sports for children, fixing boredom nowadays with kids, giving them a screen to play with and occupy them. We talked about the movies Cocoon and Old Golden Pond. I thought that was an interesting angle to go at this. The gaming club at the University of Findlay and how this could play in. It became evident at this first meeting that play can be approached from many angles. Second meeting, we established our tagline, power of play, central to human being. We didn't choose play because it's fun. Play, know yourself and others. Play, dare to be unstructured and unproductive. play, because Edison never used flashcards. Edison, the Ohio way, instead of Einstein. So meeting 3, power play, central to human being, continue to iron out our logo, mission, goals, and we unveil our logo. From the many logos we looked at, we thought this was the most powerful one. This was really conveying the message. So our mission, to inspire more play and playfulness. And the goals, to reflect upon the possibility that life should be played. To increase awareness that play is learning. To reflect upon the nature and purpose of fun. To reinvest and recommit to unorganized and unspecialized play for children. To recognize and truly believe that winning is not as important as doing your best. To inspire a sense of playfulness in the work environment. To be a part of a growing national discussion regarding the crisis of play. To inspire people to commit to living playful lives and careers. And to recognize the power of play through real-life examples during this academic year. So I thank my advisory committee. After tonight and next week, introduction to my reading group. I'm going to turn things over to my presenters for the year and the hearers organization. So next week, AMU Emily Room, I'm going to start the reading group. And the reading group is going to be based upon the best book ever written on play, Homo Ludens by E.Wilkin, and I match up different disciplines with different chapters throughout the year. So we'll start off with Play and Animals with Gwen Wright, move to Play and Language with Eva Powell, Play and Contest, the College of Business. One of our 2 featured speakers, Jocko Hamon, coming from Western Theological Seminary on October 27th. Just published this book, 2011, isn't it? A Playful Life, Slowing Down and Seeking Peace. And then we'll go back to Play and Law, Mark Pallelli, Play and War, Mike Homscher, Play and Knowing, Louis Stolick. We'll start the next year with Play and Poetry, Marianne Hofer, Play and Myth, Gary Johnson, Play Forms of Philosophy, Rich Smith. Then we have Ron Niekamp, in his first year of retirement, and he'll talk about the power of coaching with play. And we have to get jazz in here. Jack Taylor, Play and Art, Play and Jazz, Play and Education, Kim Forget, Missy Racker, Dorothy Peppis, and our final presenter, Don Stanislaus. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The role of pharmacy, various versions. No Viagra references. I'll finish things up then April 12th. I'll finish the reading group, and then April 19th, I'll summarize what we've learned, all these different speakers, all the different discussion. What have we learned during this year? Also, Ben Dolan will be presenting. He has a volunteer opportunity with Children's Mentoring Connection, looking for a group of the University of Findlay students to play after school with local youth. He'll be having a meeting on that next Thursday, September 8th. Okay, let's get into tonight's topic, play. So I'm going to start with 20 examples to show you the breadth of this topic. Throwing snowballs with a group of friends, building a sandcastle, playing a kissing game at a middle school party. Look at how enthused he is. Saying a tongue twister faster and faster. Can you can. Finger pain. Taking a swing in a moving ball. Striding yourself on a dance floor. Telling a joke. Pulling a prank. Dressing up in crazy clothes like this balloon outfit. Wagering at a casino racetrack. Making your doll do whatever you want. Surfing. Fantasizing about something romantically. Doing a crossword puzzle. Holding your breath longer than you have before. Teasing your younger brother. Bluffing in a game of poker. Collecting ceramic frogs. Making the biggest splash possible in a swimming pool. Check out that form. I love that. These are all examples and types of play because they are done to have fun. So this is the definition. Play is any activity or occupation done because it's fun. So tonight, where are you going to go? I'm going to define play in 3 different ways. I'm going to give you 6 reasons why we should play, and I'm going to talk about 3 crises in play. So the simple definition, an activity or occupation done because it's fun. The scholarly who's in the definition. An activity or occupation that's free and voluntary, not the real world, special place and time, with inherent rules and order and forms a separate secret community. So, Hussein's Homo study of play element and culture. It is people. I'm very impressed. So, the play, not the maker of the middle. In a brief span of years, and this is from Gods and Pains for the Theology of Play, 1973, David Mills. In a brief span of years after Hussein's academic disciplines that formerly seemed to have little in common, suddenly found themselves doing the same sort of thing. They were structuring the subject matter around the notion of games and play. Game theory and play theory sprang up in sociology, philosophy, psychology, mathematics, literature, art, anthropology, communications, and even religion. There's no play studies discipline, but again, various disciplines focus on play. And I'm hoping to do that at the University of Findlay this year. All 6 colleges have something to say about play. So the Dutch historian was using one of the founders of modern cultural history. The basic point of this book, even the most serious cultural institutions have their origins in play. Everything starts with play. We play many games every day, and maybe our whole life is just one big game. Play has no moral function. Play lies outside of morals. It's neither good nor bad. Rejects the existence and usefulness of presupposing a play instinct. And cite Plato in his dialogue of laws. Life must be lived as play. Campus, the Latin for campus is playground. Students remember that. They should be playing here. To dare to take risk, fear, uncertainty, and endure tension, these are the essence of the play spirit. Long history of trash talking, bragging, scoffing. The NFL didn't invent this. This has been happening as long as there's been culture. And it's interesting that law is related to play, that winning was seen by the archaic as proof of truth and rightness. So if you win, that implies that you have truth. Rhythm and harmony are factors of poetry, music, and play in an absolutely equal sense. Spirit of playful competition as a social impulse is older than culture itself and pervades all life like a veritable ferment. He starts getting a little goofy in the later chapters of this book. He's an expert in the Middle Ages, and that was one of his earlier books that he wrote, mainly in the Middle Ages. And he says the Middle Ages are chock full of playfulness. Chivalry, knights, orders, vows. The influence of the play spirit was extraordinarily great. And you're going to see this throughout the night. Everything changes with industrialization. 19th century. Seems to leave little room for play. The Industrial Revolution, major consequences. Work and production become the ideal, and then the icon of the age. Ever since the last quarter of the 19th century, games taken more and more seriously. Increasingly strict and elaborate, more and more records and rules. American politics, and some interesting things to say about politics. And this is early 20th century. It's just 2 gigantic teams. Electioneering is the name of the game. Whig, log cabin, symbolism. And the system of majority voting means whoever makes the most clamor. And international law has a lot of similarity in use of play rules. Conclusion, God alone is worthy of appreciation. What then is the regular good? Life must be lived as play. And cite Proverbs, wisdom is the plaything of God. So, the most notable achievement again, these 5 characteristics. People in play studies come back again and again using these 5 characteristics. People who write about him end up using his 5 criteria. And the critics of him, they end up using it too. It's amazing. So, 5 characteristics of play. First, free and voluntary. Play is freedom, he says. Think back to your first memories of playing with God. Freedom is what you felt. Spontaneous, imaginary. No hidden agendas. The power of play. The freedom, the things we try, the dares we make, the imagination, the environment, negotiation, interaction, immediate physical consequences. Second, play is not real life or ordinary life. When we say this, it's just a game. The beauty of sports is the paradoxical nature. We take it as serious as anything in our lives, and yet it's just a game. We play with uniforms and roles, fantasy play now. A whole different type of play. Third, there's a distinct place and duration or time in play. So sports, we have a special time limits. As far as the space space. Football is the gridiron, baseball diamond, basketball court. The internet is a new interesting place to consider, different than these others. Artists work in a place, in space, in a medium, right? Canvas, or your stage, or in a photograph. For play creates order, it is order. So in play we take turns, we respond, we react. There are implicit rules to be followed in the play for the play world to exist. And again, with art, we talk about art and play. Mediums are simply before anything's created, and a medium itself poses certain limitations and rules. Music, where one can go, what one can do with it, the instrument, the harmony, the flow. Chess, ways of attacking, making moves. Football is called sometimes militaristic chess. You make that move, you make this move. Finally, play creates a community, a secretive community, so that we are all together and we separate ourselves from others who aren't a part of that community. It tends to become permanent after the game is over. Okay, so briefly, these are 5 characteristics. Play is free and voluntary. It's not the real world. It has a special place and time. There's this implicit order in rules, and it creates a special identity. Okay, so we gave a simple definition, we gave the 5 characteristic definition. One more definition of play I want to introduce. Instead of an activity or an occupation, others like to define play as a state of mind or an attitude. And Stuart Brown, in his book, which we'll talk about a few times tonight, talks about this way. He talks about these different types of attitudes or states of mind. So these are all different players, different kinds, jokers, competitors, artists, collectors, storytellers. And the advantage is, as a state of mind, it can happen anywhere. I can take my state of mind in anything I do. Over the first definition, that's activity. So we, as the Wilkin advisory, we are going to have more play and the attitude. More play activities and more play attitudes. Again, Jocko Hamon will be here October 27th. And he has some suggestions on how to create a playful mind. That's a big part of his book, Playful Life. So being real helps one be playful. Being creative brings out playfulness. Boundlessness. And then slowing down. I've been using this when it works. Stop. Talk to people. Slow down. Hospitality. Transcendence. Okay, we're getting close now to the power of play. And John Malakas talked about the power of positive last year, and he handed over that term to me, the power. He gave me the power, and I took it. He talked about the power of positive through these different virtues, and had different people representing them. It's positive psychology, people who thrive, find meaning in love, work, and play. So, we're getting along just fine. I think we have a lot in common, positive and play. And we both want people to live high quality, powerful human lives. I think that's what we're both up to here. So, 3 definitions of play. Some activity or occupation that's done because it's fun. The Huizinga 5 characteristic definition and the state of mind definition. Okay, into the second question. Why should you play? What reasons are there to play? Duh! Duh, winning. Because it's fun. Do I have to argue for having fun? What's wrong with you people? He knows what I'm talking about. We're designed to play. First reason, we're designed to play. 2 main ways to argue we're designed to play. Evolutionary way and a theological way. And now we're getting around a little more. And this is a 2010 book. He's strong evolutionary perspective, supporting design argument for play. He says, I sometimes compare play to oxygen. It's all around us yet, because mostly unnoticed and unappreciated until it's missing. The brain can keep developing long after we leave adolescence, and play promotes that growth at any age. He has a chapter in play. We are built for play. There's the design part. And imagination is perhaps the most powerful human ability. So, perhaps we have evolved to play, but why? Well, I'll give you 11 different possible answers to that question from an evolutionary perspective. discharge of superabundant vital energy, imitative instinct, need for relaxation, training the young creature for serious work, exercising strength, an innate urge to exercise facility, desire to dominate or compete, an abreaction or outlet for harmful impulses, necessary store of energy wasted by one-sided activity, wish fulfillment, affection designed to keep up the feeling of personal value. I find two problems with the evolutionary explanations. First of all, they don't rule each other out, so I don't know which one is right and which one is wrong. So, is this a discharge of superabundant vital energy? Is this a desire to dominate or compete? Is this an outlet for harmful impulses? Check out that tattoo he has on the wall. Second problem is the begging the question fallacy. The evolutionists simply assumes there has to be some reason for play. And I, as a philosopher, I say, well, don't you have to prove play has some purpose or evolutionary value before you simply assume that it does? So perhaps play is actually a purposeless counterexample to evolutionary theory. And the other way we can talk about design of play is theology of play. And Janine, thank you. Your unknown theology of play said that's the book. I went to God. It is. Play has become a theoretical problem only since man has been forced into discipline, rationalized labor, constantly growing industrial, complex, and since playfulness has been banned from the realm of labor as mere foolishness. There's our industrial stuff. People have lost their capacity for leisure. They no longer know how to do nothing. Since constraint and full employment, constant and full employment has become their ideal. So they have to do something even with their leisure time. Then he asks this little question: why did God say this? Faith answers the unchildish childhood question in a childlike way. And the wisdom of theology ends with the liberty of the children of God. Very playful. For what purpose did God create the world? Another little question just flips out there. Ultimately, to glorify God. So when we ask, for what purpose do I exist? The answer doesn't lie in demonstrable purposes, establishing my usefulness, but in the acceptance of my existence as such. Whoever lays hold of the joy which embraces the Creator in his own existence also gets rid of the dreaded question of existence for what? The glorification of God lies in the demonstrative joy of existence. Key point. The moral and political seriousness of making history and historical struggles is then being suspended by a calm rejoicing in existence itself, which is what I'm suggesting we do. The game of grace in which the loser wins and the lost are saved. So you have to be lost and recognize this before you can be found. So in the theology of play, losing is everything. Christian theology is an abundant rejoicing in God and free play of thoughts, words, images, and songs with the grace of God. The most difficult point to make in a theology of play: the life of Jesus in the gospel stands under signs of the manger and cross, homelessness, and murder. It's difficult to explain the sufferings of the forsaken Christ and his pain of death as a serious, loving gain of God for man's benefit. At this point, the categories of play seem misplaced. And he really has a problem with this piece. The strongest would be what he calls Easter freedom, very consistent with play. The awareness of the resurrection of Christ calls forth in the believer a mocking attitude toward the world with its great wrath. Games always presuppose innocence. What can believers play? You may ask, what can believers play? Here's the answer. Games always presuppose innocence. Only the innocent, namely children, or those liberated from guilt, namely the beloved, are able to play. So, believers better be playing, or they should play. Faith is a new spontaneity and a light heart. It corresponds to an answer to God. Man's obedience is joined together with his new song. Without the free play of imagination and songs of praise, the new obedience deteriorates into legalism. Free works are works freed from the purpose and necessity to justify oneself. Free from self-assertion and self-searching, free works are done spontaneously, unselfishly, as if playing. Sanctification is free, imaginative, and loving action. Worship itself may become a source of this new spontaneity. It does no longer have to be a place of inhibitions, embarrassments, and polite efforts. Two more from Mulder. The exploiting society of achievement is a form of institutionalized justification by works. And play should liberate, not tranquilize, awaken, not anesthetize. Okay, and I think there's a theology of play with Haman. To lament is to be playful with God. For it engages God in a form of communication that acknowledges the limitations of an embodied life. And to surrender is to heal. To know that engaging God changes the way you feel and think about yourself, others, and God. Okay, second reason for play. We're designed to play. Second, to relieve boredom. We have more leisure than we ever had, especially in recent history. 1840s, up to 3,600 hours working a year. 2011, 1,600 to 2,000. And we start working later in life, and we stop working earlier in life. There's a lot of boredom, and there are a lot of destructive ways to alleviate boredom. Destructive ways to alleviate boredom, Jocko Monty would call these the 6 C's. Criticism, control, compulsion, conflict, competition, consumption. Play seems a natural fit for boredom. It works very well. It refuels and re-energizes us. And so we can cure boredom and have the leisure to achieve our highest aims as human beings. Play is essential to obtaining order for two main philosophers, Plato and Aristotle. So Plato has a 2 worldview, and there's a non-physical part of the soul. Aristotle, 1 worldview. This physical world is in soul is capacities. So we have this painting with Plato pointing up to the other world, Aristotle pointing out to the physical world, the only world that exists. So for Plato, harmony of soul is the goal of education. Soul is reason, spirit, and appetite. Ideas, the reason to get spirit as an ally and control the appetite. And Plato believes you train the body, and thereby you get to the soul. And the Guardians will be trained in gymnastics first in the Republic, then music. And these are both about boredom, but different types of boredom. If you only have gymnastics, you're just a brute, so we need music to balance that off. Now, Aristotle, capacities of the soul. Those are what we must develop to become virtuous. And this takes a long period of time, doing things over and over again in many different types of situations. So, this leads right into the next reason. Play is needed for excellence. For doing one's own work well, for being excellent at what we do. The only way to become excellent from an Aristotelian perspective is practice, over and over and over and over again. Many different situations, playing around, tinkering around, trying different things. It's necessary to gain experience. And Brown says, when people are able to find that sense of play in their work, they become truly powerful figures. It can be transformative. So being great at what you do for work. So, why should you play? You've been designed to play, to cure boredom, to be re-energized, to attain excellence, to reveal your true self. I can take any activity. I take baseball here and just think about, I think about people I played with. And they were all unique. How they swung the bat, how they ran, how they threw, how they caught, what position they played, how they reacted when they got thrown out at home, when they struck out. Where they sat on the bench, whether they cheered people on or not. Play reveals all this. It's all there to see. Authentic play comes from deep down inside. And play is fundamentally expressed needs and desires of the player. Through play, we reveal our personal business, our issues, our vulnerabilities, as children and as adults. Play therapy is the therapy. Some say it's the only therapy with children. And perhaps therapy would work with adults. Reason 5 of the 6 reasons, and this is a big play is learning. It's how we learn. Play isn't the enemy of learning, it's learning's part. Play is like fertilizer for brain growth. It's crazy not to use it. Play involves multiple centers of perception and cognition across the whole brain, enhances retention of knowledge, grow and develop socially useful ideas, values, skills, relationships, grow emotionally, morally, intellectually, develop new strategies for dealing with the world, experience success and failure, and are strengthened by these. And now we go to Rousseau and his Emile. In this book, he establishes the idea of different stages of childhood development, one we still use today. and Stolick and Stolick, not until the 19th century was childhood recognized as a separate period, and Emile alters everything. Divided into 5 books, Rousseau begins each book with analysis of the child's natural capacities and challenges at that stage. I can't summarize the genius of this book, but I will be using this book in my knowledge and understanding course in the spring, so plug. Consider, he uses 5 paintings throughout this book for each of the stages. What a genius. And you could just look at each one of these and spend hours on them. So, infancy, fetus plunging her son into the sticks to make him vulnerable. Second stage, training the little Achilles in running. Third, Hermes engraving elements of the sciences on the columns. He's not engraving anything with no arms there. But that is Hermes. Fourth stage, Orpheus teaching men to worship the gods. So this is the 4th stage when we get into religion and teaching about the gods. And finally, he's going to get married. Sophie, you know what I mean. Circe giving herself to Ulysses, and she's not even here anymore. Rousseau has so many pointers, a couple of them. Don't just give the child answers, or the child is not going to learn to reason, but simply ask people whenever they have a problem for the answers. And arrange the environment beforehand, and then let the child think that the child is choosing whatever he or she wants to do. Just a genius job. So the 2 philosophical pillars of play, as far as I'm concerned, are Plato and Rousseau. Those are the 2 people. Rousseau, the stages of development, and Plato, the harmonious soul. And I'll be using, these are going to be my 2 textbooks for my knowledge and understanding course in the spring. I think kids from college education, you've got to take this. It's going to change their lives. Plot. Okay, yeah, these stages continues in the 21st century, and then we have this Einstein. Einstein never used flashcards. How are children really learning how they need to play more and memorize less? This is by Stolick and Galenkov. They're at Temple in Delaware, and they have infant labs there. These are early childhood people. And so the plight of the modern parent. If you're a parent nowadays, they're talking to you. And there's an industry today, the baby educating. And we live in this road runner society, faster, better, more. The call of achievement and the loss of childhood. And this is their main point. They started in the book with these 3 R's. So before you purchase that toy for your child to make him the next Edison or Einstein, stop and reflect. Resist. Recenter. Remember, you don't have to purchase learning. It's everywhere. You can play anything. We learn in context, not through flashcards. Learn about and quantities. We believe that nature programmed children learn about numbers. Language is learned interactively, not passively looking at a monitor. Children don't learn best in academic settings, they learn best in childish ways, through play. Social interaction, exploration, enjoyment of their environment. We need to praise children for their progress, their strategies, process, strategies, perseverance, concentration, follow through, caring, talking, playing. They need to be praised for their effort, not their intelligence. And look at the conflict. With the winning is everything attitude, the child can put forth maximum effort, but if they lose, we give them negative reinforcement. The culminating chapter out of the 10 chapters of the book is chapter 9, play, the crucible of learning. The evidence is very clear. It says early childhood education for 40 years. Play promotes development and problem solving, creativity, better attention span, social development. Where does creativity come from? From play. Good old, unmonitored, unstructured, free and open play. Play is nature's way of dealing with stress for children as well as adults. When are children ready for organized sports, for teams and rules? Not until 7 or 8 do they understand rules and strategy. So play is learning, but forcing children to play sports is coercion, and it hurts them more than it helps them. Early organized sports specialization is detrimental to learning children. So are sports good or bad for you? Both. It depends. Could be good. So here are the benefits. Motor skills, health-related, participating in belonging with friends, learning socially acceptable values and behaviors, long-term skills for leisure, child-adult relationships, and enhanced. Harms them: low self-esteem, aggressive behavior, excessive anxiety, injury, undesirable behavior, overly narrow focus. And look at New York Times 2010. Sports training has begun for babies and toddlers. The Gym Tricks Company, training for babies at 6 months, grooming them as athletes before they can walk. DVD titled Baby Goes Pro. Recent invent of pediatric sports medicine. Baby Einstein was forced to drop the term educational after an outcry by children's rights groups. One founder of Baby Goes Pro. We're not suggesting your kid turn pro. You have to be very careful about that. Really? Come on. So at the end of this book, 4 final principles parents can live by. Best learning is learning within reach. Backyard, not at home. Emphasize the process over product to create love of learning. It's EQ, not IQ, so emotional intelligence. And learning in context is real, and play is the best teacher. And they finish with their 3 R's. And parents, don't fall victim to the marketing and the pressure of life. So, major reasons to play, because we're designed to play, relieve boredom, achieve excellence, reveal one's true self, to learn. One more reason. Health. Okay, now we're in health. Physical health, mental health. We're dealing with childhood obesity today. Adult obesity, diabetes, diseases related to sedentary lifestyle. Physically and mentally, it's used at early age. Play promotes creation of new connections that didn't exist before, new connections between neurons and disparate brain centers. Many studies demonstrated those who continue exploring learning throughout life are not only much less prone to dementia and other neurological problems, but are also less likely to get heart disease and other afflictions. Studies of early dementia suggest that physical play forestalls mental decline by stimulating neurogenesis. And when we stop playing, we start dying. And I already said depression is the opposite of play. And for college students, so much pressure on them today to be the perfect student, to get into that school. Extreme pressure. His advice, Brown's advice to these kids: choose your own activity, visualize your life 5 or 10 years in the future. And the point is to clarify who you are and what sort of future speaks to you emotionally. And this Stuart Brown, he starts, actually his first case in the 60s, he dealt with, and he just wrote this book 2010, with Charles Whitman. Some of you are probably familiar with that name. Whitman was a student at the University of Texas, Austin, former Marine, killed 16 people, wounded 32 others during a shooting rampage on and around the university's campus, August 1st, 1966. Whitman killed 3 of his victims inside the university's tower, 10 others from the 28th floor observation deck of the university's 307-foot administration building. These killings happened after he murdered his wife and mother at their homes. He was ultimately killed by 2 Austin police officers. Brown does some research. Over-control by Charles' father and unending abuse directed at Charles' mother. Brown was very surprised by this, his lifelong lack of play. He was a man of outward conformity but inward seething for years. So, rough and tumble play. Lack of experience with this type of play has been linked to poor control of violent impulses later in life. So, is there a correlation between school shootings and a lack of rough and tumble play? Okay, so review. What is play? Activity architecture done because it's fun. The Bazinga 5 characteristic definition: free and voluntary, not the real world, special place and time, order and rules, sense of secrecy and separateness. A state of mind or attitude. Why play? What reasons do we have to play? We're designed to play. To relieve boredom, to achieve excellence, to reveal one's true self, to learn for health reasons, physically and mentally. Final part is, I could go into other crises. I'm going to focus on these 3 crises involving play today in 2011. Eliminating recess, passive observation of screens, psychostimulant. So, recess crisis. American Academy of Pediatricians calls it decline of playtime national crisis. Schools across the United States eliminating recess. Undirected play allows children to learn how to work in groups, to share, to negotiate, to resolve conflicts, to learn self-advocacy skills. Pellegrini is the expert on recess. And so you can see the article here that I'll be working from. And he wrote in 2005 this book on recess. And he says the debate actually started in the early 80s. And his analogy for recess is like taking a break on an assembly line or on a road trip. So just like in a road trip, you like to take a break, then you get refreshed, you get adjusted, re-energized, you're more attentive and safe. Same thing with recess. We need these breaks like we need breaks on a road trip. If we don't have those breaks, we are less attentive if we're driving or if we're not getting recess in school, and less safe. Spacing of tasks make them less boring, correspondingly facilitate attention. And with children, there's cognitive immaturity. Children need more time. They need longer recess. They don't need cut recess. And children, as they get older, they're increasingly able to inhibit irrelevant thoughts. Young children have a difficult time keeping extraneous information from entering short-term memory. And this is the public marketing of children that's happening now. Two main arguments for cutting recess. It's a waste of valuable time. And during recess, kids get bullied. Well, let's talk about bullying first. Bullying doesn't happen in recess. It happens in other places. And it happens because we create victims and we create bullies. How do we create them? Well, victims are created by over-intrusive parents, controlling and overprotective, producing anxiety, low self-esteem, and dependency, radiating. These kids radiate vulnerability. And then the bullies come from families with little warmth or affection, trouble sharing feelings, punitive and rigid discipline style. What happens without recess? Actually, you can have more bullying without recess. Play deprivation. The study showed links between play-deprived childhood and atypical, social aggressive, emotionally repressed, physically desensitized, severe learning disabilities, physical inaptitude, erratic behavior, depression, withdrawn, difficulty forming bonds. And in the early 1990s, it started to be standardized tests for kindergarten promotion to first grade. Major problems with this. Kindergartners are unreliable test takers, different days have different scores. There are other measures we could use, and these should be considered. Late 1990s, 30% of children no longer have recess in kindergarten. Major argument for recess in primary school, learning benefits. Remember the road trip analogy, and the developing cognitive efficiency that they don't have really, blocking out irrelevant thoughts. So, Panksepp concludes we must maintain recess. He says for K through 3, recess should be the first class every day. Okay, second crisis, passive observation. This is from Gary Cross, really nice. So for those of you who are asking, how did we get into this mess in the first place? Here we are, 2011. Well, we have achieved 20th century more leisure time, but we haven't used it for personal excellence or social service, but consumption and selfishness. So this is 3 stages to understand how we got to where we are. Pre-industrial, industrial, post-industrial. So 1500, 1800, pre-industrial. There aren't sports, there aren't big teams with leagues. Gambling was at the heart of colonization, Western migration to America. Hunting was a form of play. And the pure belief, the one day, the someday of rest, sets in. The big term for this first age is Saturnalia, over and over and over again. So binging and orgy and all-out celebration at certain times of the year. And children just sent away, blood sports were popular, and just worked into according to seasons. We worked as hard as we could, and then wouldn't work at all. And then 1790s, industrialization changes everything. Mechanizing, disciplining labor in factories and offices, and creating much more intense work time. Unlike the rural season, labor and rest, new industrial pace is more steady and unwavering. Recreation, the term, emerges as restoration of mind from work. Jobs removed from the family and cottage and centralized in impersonal workshops and offices. Industrialization broke up the traditional seasonal play times. Bosses eliminate on-the-job play. Elites weaken Saturnalia, which they feel is a threat to them, for more communal forms of play, domesticated play. Industrialization increases social distance between rich and poor cities. From local smaller teams, starting to get bigger teams in central places now, more factories and mills, more mobility, 12 to 14-hour work days. And what do you get with that? Hard drinking and disobedience and problems. Mechanization changes textiles, mining, metalworking, then come the railroads. So we eliminate Saturnalia. The Christmas with children and families starts in the early 1800s. Before that, it was the Saturnalia, and it was more of a time to just go all out and party. Play becomes the work of the child and a way of shaping offspring. Move now to the 10-hour work, and then there's overlap here to the 8-hour work week. In the late 1800s, here comes the automobile. Facilitates rapid mobility, dramatically increases full private person leisure, and homogenizes play. So, 1% to 60% of car ownership. In the 20th century, sports are further civilized. So, Theodore Roosevelt really saves football and boxing. Boxing is no longer going to be bare knuckle boxing. He thinks there's something to be said for the strength. And beginning in the 1920s, the front porch, which had so long served as a place to socialize with neighbors, gradually disappeared for new houses, replaced by the attached garage. Beginning of the 20th century, middle-class adults began abandoning restful gatherings and quiet strolls for the thrill of the car, fast life of the movies, discount shopping, commercial radio, amusement parks, replacing genteel ideals of spirituality with more progress, our quest for sensual experience and individual fulfillment. Hopefully this is sounding a little more familiar. I think we could do a whole thing on just 1926. Radio expands to national audiences, number one. Number two, we now have talking in films. Both of these lead to passive audiences. And this term multitasking pops up now. So listening to the radio while you're working is multitasking. They can see us now. Mechanized entertainment, film, radio, television, homogenized and productized leisure, making play more and more passive. From going to see a concert or a speech now to just listening to a recording. So moviegoers are now among millions, staring, watching the same stars. There's more of an accelerating rise and fall of fads and celebrities. Passive audiences. Passive is not playful. And this is an article from Sports Illustrated. Bizarre history of American sport. I thought it was insightful. And he says here, by the 20s, the U.S. has become an urban nation. Majority of Americans were no longer tillers of the soil, but workers in cities and towns. They sought release not in their daily round of activities, but in watching or listening to others. At home with the radio, in the movie palace, or the stadium. It was the age of the spectator. The push-button society terminology comes in. And so instead of using our increased productivity to free humanity from labor, that frees us from labor for wise and agreeable play, we just increase our consumption. No one, and this still seems applicable. No one with any hope of intellectual success can dare argue we should sacrifice growth for more playtime. How to create full-time jobs and to encourage consumer spending have remained between closely related goals of presidents and economists. We try to get elected without those two. So 50s televisions and same sort of thing happens. Quickly, every household has them. 80s personal computer. 94 internet browser. Growth of consumerism, personal play tools, personal communities. Here we are now, Facebook, Twitter, multifunctional cell phones. Things are happening faster and faster. History of video games, just touch upon this. Starts with pinball, the 60s, some of the early stuff. 78 Space Invaders, and Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, where Mario is born, Nintendo, Street Fighter. And nowadays, two major issues. They become progressively more intense. They haven't been abandoned by the generations brought up on it. So we now have the first generations that were raised with video games. Stuart Brown is concerned with screens. And as a parent, we have to limit screen time. That's just something we have to do. Can be sedentary and isolate people. When someone's gaming or watching the screen, there's no engagement with the natural world, no development of social nuances, part of the maturation process. They neglect a deep human need to interact with material. Positive benefits of play: burning calories, keeping fit, socializing, mental acuity, reduce stress. Children 10 to 16 today spend 12.6 minutes in rigorous physical activity. Screen time has become a scourge on children's time. And the summary of this article, ironically, we've come back to pre-industrial in a way. We're in a 24/7 business world. Work and home are becoming the same place again. So we're online, we're at home. The same as it used to be. And computers, the tyranny of the moment, constant changes 24/7. New identity groups built on play, and there are all these thousands of small communities of different enthusiasms. Final crisis, psychostimulant crisis. So we have all these symptoms seeming to stem from our lack of free play. And what do? Do we introduce free play? No. Let's give them drugs, stimulants. Jack Paxson, he's the expert on this one, on ADHD play. He believes prompt use of play to reduce the epidemic of ADHD, and a heavily medically condoned psychostimulant use and all too often abuse by the youth of our society. So, play deprivation, atypical behavior, socially aggressive, emotionally aggressive. Pathological aggression, often characterized as childhood blighted by little or no playfulness. Play-deprived people, physically desensitized, severe learning disabilities, physical inaptitude, erratic, depressive, difficulty forming bond. And actually, genetically, we need play. The human genome doesn't contain enough information to construct a fully social brain. Play and many other basic emotional systems are the tools that allow the social brain to develop. So here, my premise here is that most, albeit not all, ADHD reflects a cultural ailment more than a biological disease. More than 10 million American children are presently being chronically medicated with psychostimulants. No long-term studies indicate what's going to happen with these children. We're seeing the first signs and symptoms of this sickness in the current generation of kids. Okay, so that takes us all the way around. What is play? An activity or occupation done because it's fun, or if it's going to be more detailed, free and voluntary, mindful real world, special place and time, and implicit order and rules, and form a special community, and or stay at home. Why play? 6 main reasons. It's what we're designed to do. Relieve boredom and reboot. Discover one's true self, attain excellence, learning, and health. And the 3 current crises: recess, passive observation, psychostimulant. So, again, the mission for the year: to inspire more play and playfulness. And our goals: reflect upon the possibility that life should be played. Increase awareness, play is learning. Reflect upon the nature and purpose of fun. Reinvest into unorganized, unspecialized play for children. Recognize and truly believe winning is not as important as doing best. Inspire a sense of playfulness in the work environment. Be a part of growing national discussion. Inspire people to commit to living playful lives and careers. Recognize the power of play this academic year. So what should you do? Brown gives these suggestions in this book from 2008. Take your play history. Everybody in play studies, they say, take your play history. You start by asking yourself, what did I like to do when I was a child? How did I used to play? And tapping into that. And it can bring things back to your current life. Expose yourself to play. Give yourself permission to play and be a beginner. That's good. Fun's another story going on. Be active. Free yourself of fear. Nourish your love of play. Be with people who nourish you too. Be a play in the world. Haman's conclusion. He goes back to Bazinga too. What is the right way of living? This is a question the historian Bazinga asked in 1938. The terse answer he gave was life must be lived. Embracing playfulness begins with something simple: consuming life, refraining from criticizing people, cooking your own meals. And again, don't be here October 27th. 21st century demands innovation, imagination, playground skills, effective collaboration, critical thinking, creative problem solving. We have pressing issues today: overpopulation, limited natural resources, healthcare policy, economic revival. These necessitate innovative, creative ideas. Well, play is another invention. So in classes with others, at work, be aware of playfulness, allow playfulness. Play is only you play. Be yourself. Remember all of these different examples of what play can be. Just ask. And remember the E-doors around you. Invite them up. So again, next week, start the reading group. And we have many fine speakers throughout the year. Ben Dole's opportunity. Final request, tell me about the power play in your life. Please let me know. Those are already starting to pour in from all over. And God